What's up, guys? Today we're going to be focusing on the top 5 smartphones for $100. So let's go ahead and get started. These are unlocked only, starting with the Nokia 2.3 for $130. This is a pretty nice phone. So you have a plastic frame on here, pretty much a plastic design, but it's actually a really nice design for $100. You do have the little water drop notch. It's a 6.2-inch display, 720p, 271 for the PPI. It's even a always on display as well, which is really nice. So this will be getting Android 10 along with the Android 1 operating system, so you can expect updates, which is always awesome. You have the Helio A22 processor and the Power VR 8320 graphics, so pretty much is a low-end chip on here, so don't expect to be doing hardcore gaming on here. So you do have micro SD support on here, as well as 32 gigs of internal storage. Now you do have only 2 gigs of RAM, but with this Android 1 operating system and very stripped back version of Android, this should have no problem running fine. You also have a 13 megapixel camera and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. It is 1080p, a 5 megapixel front facing camera, as well as a 3.5 millimeter jack. Now this phone does not come with NFC, but you do have a very big 4000 milliamp battery on here, so this phone will last you a couple of days if you're a light user. Next is the Moto G7 Play for $130. This is a really nice phone. This phone is also a plastic design as well. It also has a splash resistance, so if you drop some water on it, it won't instantly break. You do have a 5.7-inch IPS display, so a very compact phone. You do have a 720p display, 294 for the PPI. It's one of my favorite phones on this list. Now you do have Android 9, but I'm not really sure if it's going to get Android 10. There's been no talk yet. Now you do have the Snapdragon 632 processor and the Adreno 506, so you actually can do some medium gaming on here at medium settings, no problem on this phone, so that's really nice. You also have micro SD support. You also have 32 gigs of built-in storage and only 2 gigs of RAM, but with this stock version of Android, I didn't really notice a whole bunch of hiccups and slowdowns with this phone. Now you also have some pretty okay cameras. It's nothing really too special. If you're in good lighting, you will get some good shots, but you have a 13 megapixel main camera. It actually shoots in 2160p 30 fps, which is surprising. You also have an 8 megapixel selfie camera that shoots in 1080p. You have the 3.5 millimeter jack on here. No NFC on board for this guy. You do have the fingerprint scanner on the back, which is pretty fast. You also have a 3000 milliamp battery with 10 watt fast charging on here. Like I said, this is a pretty good phone if you're in a compact phones. You do have that really big notch, but overall I just really like this phone. Next is going to be the Samsung Galaxy A10s for around $140. This is a really good smartphone. It actually has a really nice design on here as well. It is made out of plastic, but like I said, really nice design. You have a PLF TFT display. It's a 6.2-inch display. It is a 720p display, 271 for the PPI. You do have Android 9 out of the box and the Helio P22 processor, along with the Power VR 8320 graphics, so again a low-end chip. You do have micro SD support, also 32 gigs of built-in storage and 2 gigs of RAM on here. Now you do have 13 megapixel wide and a 2 megapixel depth sensor, so if you're looking for a phone with a really good camera at this cheap price point, then this is going to be one of the phones to consider the most. Now you do have 1080p video recording, along with an 8 megapixel selfie camera that also shoots in 1080p, 3.5 millimeter jack. This one does not have NFC as well, and you actually get micro USB 2.0 on this guy, so pretty odd, but you do have that fingerprint scanner on the back with a 4000 milliamp battery, which again is the highlight on this phone, so you can get through about a day and a half, if not 2 days, if you're a light user on a single charge on this guy. Next is the Nokia 5 for around $100 even, so this actually has some pretty good trade-offs. So you have an aluminum back and aluminum frame, an IPS 5.5-inch display, so if you're into compact phones, this is extremely compact. It is 1080p, which is really awesome. 403 for the PPI. You do have Android 9, and you do have the Snapdragon 430 along with the Adreno 505, which again is a low tier chip. So you do have micro SD support with 32 gigs of internal storage, but you do get 3 gigs of RAM on here, so this should be a pretty smooth experience. Now you also have a 16 megapixel main camera that shoots in 1080p, an 8 megapixel front facing camera that shoots in 1080p, and you actually have stereo speakers on this guy as well, so dual speakers on a $100 phone are a really good deal along with NFC. So you do have mobile payments, micro USB 2.0. The fingerprint scanner is rear mounted, and you do have a 3000 milliamp battery with 10-watt charging on here. So this is overall a really good deal if you're really into specs. Alright, so last is the Moto G6 Play for around $100 even as well. This is a really good phone as well. So you do have pretty much a plastic design. It is splash resistant. You have a 5.7-inch IPS display. It is 720p 282 for the PPI. You do have Android 9 along with the Snapdragon 430, and you do have the Adreno 505 or the Adreno 308 depending on if you're in the USA. So you do have micro SD support. You also have 16 gigs of storage, which is a little low, and 2 gigs of RAM. Now you do have some actually pretty decent cameras on here. 16 megapixel camera shoots in 1080p, and then you have a 5 megapixel camera on the front that shoots in 1080p. Also a 3.5mm jack, micro USB, and you also have NFC if you get the European version. And now you do have the fingerprint scanner, which is very accurate, a very nice 4000 milliamp battery. This phone is really good on battery life. So you do have 15-watt fast charging or 10-watt fast charging depending on the market. So overall, this is a really good phone, beautiful display, very nice operating system. It's a very fast phone, very dependable for $100. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. I will catch you guys in the next